Welcome to Truthzilla. Yeah, I got the beautiful Megan here, and look at her looking sharp today. And the lovely Scott and Ed here as always. We're bringing you something a little different this week, right?
Like different flavor.
Yeah, this was actually we pre-recorded this a couple weeks back. It's just kind of a conversation with our new lifelong friend Tara Alder of Alder Brooke Healing Arts.
Yep, and you guys will remember her if you guys are on the premium. You'll remember her from, I think it was like number 1 or 2, the Truthzilla Reconciliation Commission number 2.
Yeah.
Premium bonus episode where we went on a little adventure with Alder Brooke Healing Arts, right? And so that's where you guys first met Tara. But yeah, this is just a great. She invited us over for dinner, dude, and we just sat down. And
we had our colon hydrotherapy there, and then we kind of did like the next week. We went and kind of just had a dinner and a conversation, and we got like 4 hours of footage that night. So this
because
is
we all literally fell in love with this woman.
Oh yeah,
she's amazing.
She's amazing. She's and a wealth of information.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
So we just picked her brain for like 4 hours, right? Like and just like
she's
connected.
Just a lovely
and
healing
it was great.
spirit.
And
full of
we
all
think
this.
you guys will get some of this too.
Yes, yes.
So we put together like a little part 1. I'm sure there'll be a part 2 and a 3 and all this stuff.
Yeah, there's a bunch of footage. This is the first part, but please, just enjoy the conversation.
Table talk conversation with Tara.
Yay! Yeah. All right, bam.
Remind me, I want to talk to you guys about something that I feel like would be really good for our listeners to hear as well around just prefacing each new day with knowing that there's more that we don't know and will never know than we do. So I'll give you like this little analogy with a circle.
Yeah.
But as far as the sympathetic nervous system is actually what allows energy to go to my brain so I can think and talk. And it's also generally what is bringing energy out to our extremities, right? So driving a car, we've got our sympathetic nervous system going. Talking right now, sympathetic nervous system. And it's the dominant nervous system, right? Because we have to swim, right? Did your parents tell you to not swim right after you eat?
Mm-hmm. I've heard that, yeah.
You've heard
they
that?
They said that we shouldn't, like 30 minutes was out of the rule.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Right.
Because they said you could cramp up and not be able to, and then you would drown. That was the...
It's exactly
Is that
true.
That's for real?
Yes, it is real. And that's because our sympathetic nervous system needs energy going, or, sends energy to our extremities. So say, for example, we can swim. And so our parasympathetic nervous system is what allows energy to go within to our digestive tract and our supportive organs. And they don't work simultaneously. And because the sympathetic nervous system is the one that's going to save our life, if a Mack truck is heading our way, we're going to go the other way, right? Or if a big wave is coming toward us, we're going to swim and hopefully go underneath it or somehow maybe get out of the way, right?
Right.
So that is what saves our life, right? The flight, fight, freeze, or fawn. So as long as we have sympathetic nervous system energy going out, we do not have energy going within to our parasympathetic nervous system, which allows our stomach, which our stomach is actually way up here. It's much higher than what we think. Most commonly, I heard people talking about this lower region as, oh, my stomach hurts, and it's down there. And the stomach's actually not down there. Those are your guts. Those are your intestines. So the stomach is actually mostly protected by the rib cage. The pylorus region of the stomach protrudes underneath the rib cage a little bit, just below that xiphoid process, that little bone that sticks out in between your rib cage. Like when you had your babies, so they kind of push it out a little bit. Mine did too. But so the stomach has a natural mixing that is called churning, and it's very much like an agitation cycle in a washing machine. It just slightly mixes things up, but that happens automatically when the parasympathetic nervous system is engaged and energy can go there. If we eat and then we are on the go right away, we have sympathetic nervous system energy going out, and then the parasympathetic intervention or innervation does not occur. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure.
So we also have chemical digestion that plays a role as well. So say, for example, we've all heard of hydrochloric acid, right? Most of us would maybe believe, based on what media tells us, is that we have excess hydrochloric acid, right? Thus we need to take Tums. Or when I was a kid, it was ROLAIDS. It's something to suppress the acid, as if like dripping in too much acid, we gotta suppress that, right? Well, actually, it's naturally occurring in just the right amounts in order to convert pepsinogen, which is the inactive enzyme that plays a role in beginning the chemical digestion of protein. It turns that pepsinogen into pepsin so that chemical digestion of proteins can begin. So all of these things that I'm mentioning are only going to happen when the parasympathetic nervous system is engaged, which it cannot be as long as we've got energy going out with our sympathetic. So a long time ago, people used to sit down at a dinner table and they would actually give thanks for the food and the people who prepared it and who provided for it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And just that act alone of circling, right? We're together, we're feeling grateful. Guess what happens to our nervous system? Right? It's happening right now, right? Kind of starting to feel a little bit more chill. Like, I kind of feel like things are going to be okay. I don't have to fight.
Yeah, I don't
have to flee.
Yeah, we don't have to worry about our food for right now. Like we've done the hunt. We relax. It goes all the way back, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And so then these natural digestive processes can occur. Yeah. So digestion actually really begins in the mind.
Ooh.
When we think about food, when we see it.
Oh yeah.
When we sense it, we smell it, right? Or maybe we just threw a steak on the grill and we hear it sizzling, right? That actually begins signaling from our brain to our digestive organs that food's coming. Get those juices cranked up. We might produce a little more hydrochloric acid. We might produce some cholecystokinin and all these other cool, really smart sounding names I'm throwing out here.
I'm like, okay, she's gonna be tested later. I'm gonna parasympathetic.
So good.
I'm still trying to remember the recipe. So.
Right.
That's good.
You know what the cool thing is that you just don't have to remember anything. That's like the whole idea. You let everything go. You sit down at the dinner table and nothing else matters.
I love that.
Yeah.
I literally feel like everything that you say is, I take home and I'm like, okay, this is what's going to happen in my house now. Like tomorrow's the day that I go and look for the glass canisters.
Thank you. Yeah,
we're going to start. I was like, you're so right, because you're actually like reminding me, because I have older children now. We used to do that all the time. Sitting at the same time every night. I was so structured with my older kids and everything was a schedule. We all sat there, we prayed. We talked about things, and now it's just like, yeah, whatever. Everybody get what you want. My household is there's a lot of different people in and out. I share it with different, people. And so everybody kind of does their own thing. And so I felt like that was a good option without having to feel like everyone was arrested to doing, their lifestyle.
Right.
But I have young kids. And so now I'm just like, you know what? I love the idea of all of this reminds me. I'm like, we shouldn't be filming the parts where I say that I don't sit down with my kids at the table. But
I wish I could keep my kids
eating
through a whole meal.
My son, I guess I do.
Halfway through his meal is bouncing around the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like he
just it's gotten and I feel like in this rushed world, things have gotten I've accepted as casual, the hippie mom thing. Well, I'm not going to be so helicopter mom about everything. Everyone can just come and go, but there is such truth to what you're saying, and all of these words just remind me. And so I'm literally sitting there thinking, okay, what are my? I literally left and was just well, the kids, they know they can feed themselves tonight, because on the night for on podcasting, they have older siblings and whatever, but they usually just do mac and cheese or whatever. I'm just no, that's fine. And so I'm okay, so tomorrow I'm doing a meal. I'm actually thinking maybe we'll go all together and pick out a special tablecloth. Maybe we'll actually start to we'll get a new special light fixtures and actually make it be. I love the idea of all this, because also I think about my kids' nervous system for how they feel about their day. And I think I told you when we were here before, when we were training for foster care, how they said when you get these kids, feed them. Just feed them. It doesn't have to be healthy food, and feed them what they want, because when you feed somebody, you're nourishing their spirit, you're building trust, you're building all this community. Right. And I think that some of those things just over the last years have just been kind of, I don't say I never sit with my kids, that's not true, but I certainly haven't made the same kind of production like what you're talking about, which is really the investment of consciously investing love in the things that I'm doing to nourish them. And I think that that's the part that I needed to be reminded of.
Well, I should just confess to you that I wasn't capable of doing that as a single mom with a single income.
What?
And, you know, just running around trying to get them to their sports and, you know, grocery shopping and, you know, return client calls. Fortunately, you know, we discovered the Vitamix. And so we literally would blend our soups. This would have been a perfectly wonderful green, carroty, savory soup, but we wouldn't have had to sit and chew in order to make it easily absorbable.
Right.
And I turned them on to green smoothies. That's how we started our date, with like some mango, pineapple, and some, you know, kale in the blender. Yeah. You know, add some coconut, and we've got a, you know, balanced meal there.
That's my son gets like half his like the good stuff he gets is like out of the blender, right? Right. And I can sneak things in there really easily, you know.
Yeah.
I've got him having some wheatgrass now because he's like,
Because he notices? Yeah.
He sees it now. He's like, oh yeah, put it in, you know.
Yeah, awesome.
Because it's not enough to like really overpower the mango, really, because he loves mango smoothie. But I mean, I think once you've had, I really kind of like wheatgrass, so.
I like it at Jamba. That's the only time I've had it. But because like you don't have a wheatgrass juicer because those are heck of expensive, right? Or you can get shots of it.
All I do is I buy the little planter of it and put it in my kitchen. You probably saw it when we were there last night.
Hey, you haven't seen this little wheatgrass thing?
Yeah, it's just and I just pull some off and chop it up fine and throw it in.
Really?
It just keeps growing.
Yeah.
It keeps growing.
Yeah, it's huge now. Honestly, I could probably do better. It's like this is all new to me, right? So it seems like it starts to die, but it's only like $3 to buy a new one.
Wow,
so I'm
gonna start eating grass.
That's actually one of the very first books that I read on healing was by this famous doctor who started the Hippocrates Institute called Anne Whittemore. And she had a book on growing your own wheatgrass. And so I literally went to Pekita and I bought winter wheat berries, and I actually soaked them in some of the saliva from my mouth, because I also read that when it's germinating, if it takes in the DNA of whom it's supposed to be feeding, it will actually grow the nutrition specifically for that human based on the potential deficincies that person has.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah, and so I like, you know, try to kind of soak my seeds, and then in her book she outlined literally just like laying it out on a cookie sheet. So it didn't need like a lot of soil. Later I learned that in order to have it be more nutrient dense, you know, have nutrient dense soil so it could draw from the nutrition from the soil. But back in the day, I would just start growing it literally on cookie sheets.
Oh.
That's why Bill Gates soaks the Moderna vaccine before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yes, he does. Right.
No, it's funny that.
Well, they have the Tom Hanks, right? Donated all his blood.
Wait,
so
what?
They could develop a vaccine back in the day, like because Tom Hanks was like, you know, he had coronavirus supposedly back in the day, right?
I didn't hear about
so
this.
he donated his blood so that they could develop a vaccine from his blood, and so like, and that was a big thing. He was like, oh, I'm gonna give the whole world my blood, and it was like a whole thing. Yeah.
In Corvallis today, and everywhere I go to get my nails done, I go every 12 days. I've gone there for years and years and years, and I always go in the morning. And
let's see your nails.
Oh, okay. So my
better be good.
They're not.
Is that what I'm supposed to ask when I hear this?
And they're all natural too, right?
Yeah, because I just have.
All right, I feel like they're superhero. They're superheroes.
So thank you. Yes, the one that I told you about that I love so dearly. Yes. Yeah. I got that after one of the horrific abuses, but I decided to keep it. So anyways. Bad detour. Well. Bad detour. But and I was thinking about this the other day, and I was talking to somebody, and I just said, like, you know, I was like feeling so invalidated about everything that went down in that whole situation, and it's still, you know, like it's very much a part of my daily life. Just, you know, like the way that I handle things and the ways that it changed me. You know,
I understand. Yes.
But I was just thinking, and I was just like, you know, it wasn't real. I need to, and I was just saying this to him, and I was like, it wasn't real, not to him, but I was speaking to a friend. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it wasn't real, and I just need to accept that everything I poured into that was like, it went to nothing. And I was just like, all at once, I was just like, I was like, okay, no. Love is never a wrong choice. That he wasn't capable of loving me back in the same way, or what I like. At the end of the day, I truly do understand that what happened wasn't about me. I fully do get that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean it wasn't
effective,
soulfully personal to me.
Absolutely.
And I adored him with everything in me. And so when I was thinking about, like, I was literally invalidating myself and what I had given, and like the amount of love that I could show, and like how much you know what I mean? Like, you understand, like, that whole like, and especially with like a spiritual enmeshment, which now I look back and I see too, I think that doesn't just break apart overnight, right? Like, it's just like a slow, it takes time.
Right.
But I was just like, I don't even know how I got off on this tangent, but just like that whole, like, reminding myself, like, I'm not invalid. What I gave is not invalid. What I felt is real. And whether or not, and all the time I thought it was being reciprocated, and that it wasn't, doesn't invalidate my part in that.
Right.
And so that was like super grounding to me. I don't know why I never thought of it that way, but all this time I keep thinking, okay, no, I'm, you know, he was awful to me. I don't love him. He was this and that. So, you know, that was invalidated, or that experience, you know, that's not how that was. And I look and I'm like, okay, I'm completely making my, you know, cognitive dissonance worse. I'm like retraining myself, and I need to accept, like, there's two sides to what happened. His experience and mine, but his experience and what he did and our interactions don't invalidate mine. That was just like,
I love that. Thank you for putting that into words.
I mean, you know what I mean?
I
like,
know
it just
exactly
it felt
what you
intuitive
mean.
as soon as it just came upon me. Like, as soon as I said it out loud, like, my spirit was just like, no, that's not, and that was healing. Ever since I saw you, there's been like healing, all these happy things happening
More
to me.
clarity,
so it really is.
right.
And I was saying to you that it was like a psychological thing as much as it was a tummy thing.
Yeah.
But it really has like blossomed over in this other area, and that's the problem. I'm getting goosebumps. That I keep telling other people. I'm like, you've got to understand. I'm trying to tell my sister today. She's like, so that's like the hydrotherapy thing, and I'm like, yeah. I said, but you, like, she was explaining to me a little bit like the psychology behind, and like how we hold shame, and like, you know, our experiences, and like how just things can cycle through our bodies. I'm like, to have you explain it, it makes perfect sense. For me to try to repeat what you said, you know, wouldn't be as clear to her. But I'm just trying to like express
you're doing
people.
it in the stories in which are more true.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
And just like, you know, just to impress upon her, I'm like, it's just more than just digestion. It's more than just health. It is that, but this literally for me was like whole body, like it was an alignment. That's a better way to say it.
With
really
our higher selves.
Yes, absolutely. So anyway, I don't even know how we got where were we starting.
I feel like asking, like, was there a part of you that you know wasn't true to yourself at times within that, or were you being true to yourself, and that's the story that is still your truth, is that you were true to yourself?
Well, I was true to myself in that, I mean, everything that I did was very pure.
And for love, yeah.
And for love.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and it was funny, I was hearing somebody else who, like, there's like this sort of like emerging, like in this, I say this, you know, when you are recovering from this type of abuse, there's like sort of this dialogue that's starting to emerge. I'm noticing like a couple life coaches that I listen to have like started talking about it, and then what they're, I don't want to know if I want to say they're advocating for it, but they're almost like, and they're like, well, if you betray the person who betrayed you, then that's like I don't want
an eye for an eye.
And I'm just like,
that
never
crossed your,
no matter what happened to
consciousness.
Me, it never crossed my mind to hurt him in that way.
Or that
I would even
to that. I couldn't go there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I couldn't even demonize him. I just knew that his truth was his truth, that it was different, and he couldn't speak it because of the cultural differences. Yeah. He was trained to not speak it.
Right.
He thought he was doing the right thing by appeasing me, by, you know, sometimes placating me, but, you know, but that, you know.
Pretty Little Lies. Or
that was
sometimes
what he
sometimes
thought,
no.
You know, because he was culturally taught to do that. But yeah, I was partially asking you that because somebody came to me recently that gave words to some of what I realized was my fault, was my wrongs. And where I was wrong was that I was actually cheating on my higher self.
I was.
Yeah.
I was.
I wasn't being true to that gut intuition, that knowing
that voice
deep
that
down.
Was screaming at me.
Yeah. Because I would have done anything for love. I was like, you know,
and because what
sell my soul, like, please just love me.
Well, and
you know?
those kind of in those they're not real relationships, right? They're like spiritual transactions. It's not like, you know, when you're connecting to this person, that person is not bonding back. That's the mask, or at least in my situation, that's the mask. That's the learned mirror behavior.
They were, but it's fleeting.
Because they don't.
Because they have to go back to their mask wearing.
Well, because they're so and this is where you can get deep into psychopathy. This goes back to like a fracturing, like between 6 months and 2 years old. There's a fracturing that happens with the bonding portion, usually with the primary caregiver,
and actually according to Gabor Mate, even within the womb.
Yes.
When it begins.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, right.
I'm big on that because. Yeah. We can go on, like, my mother with my second youngest brother, she was being routinely like physically abused, bloody, not horrible things when she was pregnant with my next youngest brother. Mm-hmm. And so
you were a witness then.
Oh yeah. I mean, but what I was going to say is her experience with my pregnancy was she had a more joyful pregnancy with me, right? So the way that I was as a baby and the way that I responded to things
versus nurturing, because you were nurtured and cared for.
And so she was always the nurturing empath, but she was so stressed in her pregnancy with him that he was born literally screaming.
Yeah.
Screaming and so of course they deem things like colic and they say, but I don't believe, it's like anything, they label something, but that's not what it is. You got to get to what's underneath. And I've had foster children too, like when they come from a mother who, really like maybe has had other kids, or, you can tell there's like a history of love in that family, but it's just dysfunctional, or maybe there was some drug use. And so, but you can tell that child responds and interacts from birth differently in their environment and perceptually different, and just all of their cues are, and if you haven't worked with children a lot, it's probably like, and even me, if I was in a hurry, if I was working in an orphanage, you'd probably miss it. But when you're working individually with children, it is perceptible that there's a difference, when there's a disconnect between and even, I can even speak for my own pregnancy. When I had my second daughter, 3 months after she was born, I got pregnant. And my milk started drying up, so I couldn't breastfeed my new baby. And I was like, I didn't want to have more kids at that time. I was like, you're not looking to get pregnant when you just gave birth. You know what I mean? It was just like,
totally, of course not. Yeah.
And so it was really, not that I was excited about my baby, but it also took like,
what's so interesting
is shooting yourself in the corner? I saw that. He was literally shooting himself in the corner.
I was like, ooh.
Okay. But I was going to say that whole pregnancy with him, me starting to feel excited. Not that like I say again, it wasn't about love or about want, but I was stressed as a young mommy that I had a new baby.
Absolutely
I had a 3-year-old. I had a not quite 1-year-old.
My second child came out squawking, and my first child didn't cry for 2 weeks.
It's just.
I was stressed my second go round. Yeah. Whereas the first one, I was actually stressed for the first few months, but then I completely eliminated myself from the stress and literally got on a Greyhound bus and came out here where I didn't know anybody. So I had a clean slate. So there was nobody to stress me out because I wasn't in relationship enough with somebody to care enough about them to allow their stress to affect me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Totally. So I basically created a bubble. Yeah. And I had home births, so I didn't have doctors and fluorescent lights and anything.
So awful. I feel so bad for all the mommies that get brainwashed into that whole.
With their masks nowadays, and like.
I have a little button up there. It's like a woman in the stirrups, and it's got a line through it, and it says, "Just say no."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's the most diabolical thing ever, and the whole idea that that's the cleaner, safer birth. When you look at, like,
I actually got fired from a doctor for having a home birth because later, when I had to bring Isaiah in. When he found out that I had a home birth and he was the first doctor my baby had ever seen, he threw a fit, slammed the door. I refused to give my baby a chlamydia test because it involved sticking something like this long down the back of his throat, scraping off some of his tissues, and then taking it out, putting it in a test tube, sending it over to a lab and waiting for a while to get the results to tell us that of course he doesn't have chlamydia because his mom didn't have chlamydia. So that would be impossible. So I refused the test. I was like, that's not logical.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have done it if it was logical, but I'm like, but why
are we testing pregnant babies for chlamydia?
And so he slammed the door on the way out. By the time I got home from the hospital, there was already a letter in my mailbox saying that I was a liability to his medical license, and therefore he could no longer treat my child.
We've been excused from pediatricians in the past for not vaccinating. We've had them say that we're not safe to other clientele, with their little smug looks on their faces, and how we're, all that does is paint the picture more. But that's so many topics.
That's why we're all going the other direction, right? I mean, and some of us longer than others, but I mean, I think that's why we took Johnny to a naturopath yesterday for his skin, right?
Right.
That's what we're doing. I'm sick.
What's going on with his skin?
Eczema.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Yeah, I actually was having discussions about eczema earlier today and the gut microbiome connection. Yeah. And stress too. It can be an external stress, like literally somebody can sprain their ankle and then later on get eczema around the ankle.
Interesting.
Which is, I know it seems so odd, right? But yeah, basically when we stress, we produce cortisol. Cortisol kills some of the acidophilus and bifidus and lactobacilli, some of the beneficial bacteria that are, we consider to be part of our immune system. And when the immune system is not taking up all that space lining the walls of the small intestine, then there's gaps. And where there's gaps, larger chain amino acids might be able to seep in or unchewed food particles into the bloodstream, which is going to then enact that secondary part of the immune system, which if it's for something minor like that, then essentially like the immune system is over responding, so the body is kind of attacking itself.
Sure.
And almost all immune.
Exactly.
All autoimmune can be related to that. Yeah. That's why when you guys are cleansing, I'll be more than happy to turn you on to a cleansing formula that I put together based on this doctor guy. His name is Dr. Bernard Jensen. He wrote many books on the bowel, but one of them was a tissue cleanse through bowel management. And essentially has people drinking a combination of hydrated bentonite clay, so bentonite mixed with water, right?
I've heard a lot about that.
And then psyllium, so the bentonite clay is a negatively charged medium, so it's going to physically bond with whatever's positively charged in the intestinal tract. And so if we consume it separate from a meal, like it'll bond with the older stuff that's on the walls. And so it bonds with that, and then if you have to have like a fiber with it, like in most cases it would be something like psyllium seed.
I read a lot about like doing the psyllium husk thing and
and that absorbs a bunch of water as well, kind of plumps up,
pulls stuff
and
out of
it
like the
gives
creases
the walls something to expand and contract up again. So what the clay pulls out, then the fiber can then carry all the rest of the way out, or like sweep the rest of the way out. So that's actually really the first step. I think that maybe the first 10 days of doing this protocol, if you were to do some of that seasonal cleanse where you're drinking the clay and the fiber together, you're taking off some of what was called mucoid plaque back in the day, before mainstream medicine picked up on that. People are cluing into the importance of microbiome and what's going on in the gut. They poo-pooed it. They were like, there's no such thing as mucoid plaque. But now everybody's calling it biofilm. Now it's a thing, but we call it biofilm.
And like the stamp on it.
We found it. We discovered it. First.
They pulled it off a little while so we could find a petroleum product that would help fix it, right? But, so you said one thing wrong though. You said one thing wrong. You said when you guys do
I'm doing it too.
When we all do
I was like, so she did not say anything wrong. What are you saying?
I'm sure there's plenty of things. But no, I actually am still on this. I am on the last, 5 or 6 days, but I'm going to start it up again so that I can do the 10-day again. And really, literally, that was the first time I've ever done the 10-day in its entirety, the way it's outlined in the instructions. Because I was kind of told to do it before, and first of all, I had a lot of challenges going on in my head, in my heart, and in my life, and so I just didn't feel like I was going to be able to really have success with it and give it full attention. And on top of that, my rebel spirit was like, don't tell me what to do and when to do it. And then you want to tell me how to do it also? I'm like, do you know me? I don't think so.
I am the biggest burning bridges while I still stand on them. I am very aware that is a personality trait.
It is.
You can't don't force me. I don't like that kind of stuff. It's immediate. I'm aware that my psyche just shuts down. Nope.
Right.
Nope.
See, I'm looking at it like the mainstream is telling us what to do. I'm going against the grain when I do this. Man.
Seriously, that's
I'm
exactly
off
how
that
I
whole
think.
System, man.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
I know if everybody
vaccines.
else is doing it, I'm certainly going to find a different way because I'm not going to follow them off the edge of a cliff.
Exactly.
Right? I'll go down there at the bottom and see if I can help patch some people together.
That's what I'm saying, right? We're all that's what it is here. Everyone's just walking around in the sea of I feel like everyone's just walking around in a sea of bodies, and like everyone's just like just stepping over. Well, we don't see it. It's fine. How do I get to the front of the line for the vaccine?
Unless you're not wearing a mask, they'll come at you, dude.
Oh, did you tell about
I
that?
told Ed about that.
Yeah.
You gotta tell Tara too.
Some guy just at the store just now, like. So I was like, we were coming out of the store real quick. Market of choice. This guy, North Face jacket, looking all. Like yuppie comes walking in, dude, and like he has a mask on. We come out of the store, no mask on.
Well, we took it off the second we got to the door. We pulled it off.
Yeah,
we
right?
wore it
Came
inside.
walking out. He sees us coming out and just like, like freezes and like walks like 10 feet around like a big old circle, like just like, oh my god,
like all like freaked out.
And I was just walking by like,
I don't think it was that obvious.
It wasn't that pronounced either.
No, you doing that wasn't that like to me. Okay.
To me it wasn't that pronounced. Or my reaction wasn't that pronounced.
No, he was.
He could tell. He could tell just like. What the fuck? And then we were like looking back and like he was pissed, dude. Like he was.
So we
like,
went and got in our cars.
Yeah, he was like he started walking out of the parking lot after me, dude. Like it was crazy. He came all the way up to my car.
Wow.
And I was like staring at him like through the window, like just like.
So he's like standing there between two cars, mugging him after he was already on his way to the store with the cart. Nothing was said to this man, by the way, and we walked out together.
Yeah.
Wow. Everything okay?
It must have been a butt dial. I just haven't talked to my folks since the thing,
Still
right?
no?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was probably just a butt dial. But.
Okay.
I respect though that when your mother's calling, you interrupt everything to answer. I like that a lot.
Yay.
Yeah. I've had some interesting experiences where I felt scrutinized by not wearing a mask, and instead of taking it personal or wanting to judge them, I'm just really trying to remember that like they're afraid.
I am, exactly.
And you know what I was saying at the meeting the other day is like, I just, help me learn how to speak in ways that others can understand. And if they're coming from a place of fear, they can't hear.
Yeah.
If I'm afraid, I can't fucking hear.
Yeah.
I can just like, be reactive. That's all I can do when I'm afraid.
Well, and I think sometimes too, like, I mean, it seems like at least a lot of the people I come across, I don't even think they're afraid anymore. I think they're pissed that they're conforming and we're not.
That is
big
true.
trigger.
And that's always been the case, and that's why we got, they let us get in trouble at school.
Yeah.
So they're like, well, we have to conform, so we're not going to stick up for you.
I think they're empowered now with all the politics.
Well, they feel so virtuous.
Micromanagement syndrome.
Yeah. Well, everyone has authority. They've never had anybody respect what they say.
Right. Exactly.
And they've got no lives, and all of a sudden, people have to listen to them. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, they're standing at their checkouts and at their, whatever, the freaking Winco Mall cop.
Yeah.
But that's what it is, and it's sad when you look at it in terms of just psychology of people, like that they're that desperate for substance and like to matter and be seen by like their peers. But the fact that they do, it's to me, I'm just like, it's like Nazi Germany. Like, I'm not saying we're going through the Holocaust right now, and God forbid that that's where we get, but I'm more talking about just that whole, what happens leading up to it, right? Like the whole, it's exactly like what's happening now, where there's like, it's the whole, goodbye Jews, it's that separation. Yeah, and so I think that like, I know it totally is. Yeah. That's what it is. And what I was thinking too, like the psychopathy behind. Scott's a big guy. Psychopathy. It is. Well, Scott's a big guy, right?
Big guy.
Nobody knows. Like looking at Scott walking out of a store in a big black coat, big tall guy, like they don't know if he just got out of prison a year ago from stabbing someone to death in the neck with a piece of sharp glass. They don't know if I'm his woman and he beats me privately at home. They don't know anything about how he might respond. Right? Like I'm gonna tell you right now, when people come against me in public, they don't expect how I'm gonna respond.
Yeah, of course it's one of those situations where I'm driving away, I'm like, God, I should have done this, I should have done that. I should have told him like, Megan pointed out too, like, who do you think you are, like, walking up on somebody? Like, what are you even doing? Like,
I didn't see this happening, by the way, or I would have been out of my car, so it's lucky I didn't.
Who does this guy think he is, just walking up on somebody like that? Like, you don't know who I am.
Falling into your car. You could have a weapon. I know for sure my brother has weapons by his, like, spiked stuff. He will swing it into you.
I should have told him, like, who do you think you are? Plus, I really wanted to flip the whole script on him and be like, you know what this is? This is your white privilege right there. Making you think that you can walk up to me like that. That's just pure white privilege.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
I mean, if he really is truly scared, though, why is he chasing the virus?
That's it.
Oh, yeah. What are you doing?
I mean, you should have just started breathing heavy.
Yeah.
I feel that was his social virtue. Where he did that big thing,
fire
big
breathing
dragon.
dragon.
That was him signaling to everybody around that he was more virtuous than you. because our masks were off. So that was his social virtue.
Social virtue.
When you made him feel embarrassed in our peers because
Yeah.
you pointed out that he was acting ridiculous,
Yeah.
then he was all puffed up and that's why I say like he doesn't know like if Scott might get out of his car and just start swinging on him, or maybe he
Should've.
You don't know what I don't know. It just surprises me like.
But then we don't know if he's going to pull a pistol out either.
Yeah.
Again, that's what I'm saying.
That's the thing.
So that's my point. Is this the psychology behind that man is
scary.
super scary because exactly he's not
He's a
afraid
predator,
of what
dude.
his threat might be. So that's predatory. Agreed.
He's very
Agreed.
predatory. Like, it's
Agreed.
Like I should have doxed him. He probably was sticking around and got my license plate so he can dox me or something. Like, you know.
I wish I had seen it.
Yeah.
I would have taken
Yeah.
pictures or something.
Yeah.
Maybe I wouldn't have gotten out if I didn't see you roll your window down. But
I should have. Yeah. Whatever. Whatever. I don't care. I don't care.
we're gonna edit some of this out. But
No. all your relationship stuff, it's all going.
I was gonna say okay,
No,
like
it was all really, really
maybe
good.
later though I'm gonna like review that part and see if there's any part I might ask you to leave out. But we'll
No worries,
see.
it
It's
was all
probably.
really good. I think it's
I also and part of that is
all
too.
good.
What
I
I was
guess
thinking is you two need to start a podcast.
Oh.
You two.
We gotta have her on as like a
Actual
semi-regular
guest.
guest,
Yeah.
like where she comes in and does commentary with us, like you know, like with
Yeah.
like handsome Rob style,
Yeah.
but beautiful Tara style.
Yep.
So.
We got to get it going on Saturday mornings or like after, you know, good night's sleep rather than at the end of the day when I'm just like, I'll just listen to you guys and
Yeah.
drift off in the background.
We
Yeah,
do the podcast where we
this
do
is
the
super-
women
this
rub
is
each other
super
down with the
mellow.
salts thing and like do not the part where we show us, but like where
I
you
was
have the
thinking
nurturing
about-
environment. Like
I
when you-
almost texted you this the other night because it's a full moon in Leo right now. You guys know that, right? So like tonight. And I had all these incredible energetic downloads that felt really powerful. I was actually envisioning sacred geometrical patterns. You were saying you're not really clear on exactly what that is. Her earrings, that's the flower of life. There's sacred geometry all over that.
I think I have the seed of life tattooed on the back of my neck.
Right.
Well, I know when I was watching the video that you sent me, like they were just showing like the ear how it's made of like
Right,
all that and stuff,
exactly.
like- and
Yeah.
So I had some
The
point of
spiral
reference.
of life, like
I had
yes,
some
yes.
point of reference, but
Yeah.
I figured you could explain much more of it. So I'm
Maybe.
very intrigued.
But I was envisioning, you know, what it would be like to get you guys in my sauna
There you go.
and what the like profound healing that is to strip ourselves of all of our masks, you know? And like the other night I was thinking about you guys and I was thinking about tonight because my brain was just going super fast. It was after watching the second go round of the video that you sent me of Zachary Bush and
He's fantastic.
what's his face,
He's
Dell.
electric.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was super ignited and I was kind of drifting off thinking about you guys in that and we'll have to rock that. You know, I don't know if you're ready for that next level though.
So I want to know what does it entail. Tell me what does it entail? Like when you say spa service, like what happens?
It's just I don't generally do it with anybody other than women.
Okay.
Because it's just a sacred time to go within and connect and listen and remember who we are and connect to that, you know, that divine truth and strip ourselves of, you know, our clothing because we shower, right? And then I do scrubs. I like handmade a scrub of, you know, ancient salts like Himalayan salt crystals. And I did some olive oil and some avocado oil. And then I put essential oils of frankincense and myrrh and sandalwood and cassia and lemongrass for, you know, helping with the ligaments. And clove and some marjoram and can't remember what else, lemon and grapefruit. And just like, you know, mixing it up with some prayers. Like, let this be good, let this be good. Let there be light, let there be light, let there be light, let there be release. Let's release anything that is no longer serving our higher self and let's make room for the new and the fresh and the vital. And, you know, let's, you know, detox. You know, it's like what we put in, whether it's mental, emotional, or physical. If it stays in us too long, it can kind of go a little rotten, right?
Yeah.
And then what we say might come out a little rotten. Maybe behaving like that guy at the store.
Yeah,
Exactly.
you know, it's
Yeah, he
true.
can use
I mean,
little-
for real, right?
He can use little
Little salt rub.
next level stuff.
I mean, it's also, it's just like, it's really humbling to be naked.
Yeah.
And it's for women really fucking empowering because it's just like,